Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be reading to you one of the most controversial topics and needed discussions to the modern Christian church. This is Collier's 99 Thesis to the Modern Church. Let's get ready to go over these controversial subjects. Be sure to comment in the comments below about these messages and how you feel. And remember, this is one of the most suppressed channels on YouTube, without any strikes, without any warnings, and still not reaching the public. Share this with as many people as possible. Here we begin the 99 Thesis. I will be reading these to you now. Number one, the earth is older than Adam and Eve, and there was a civilization that nearly destroyed the earth before God reformed it and brought Adam and Eve here. The Bible says in Genesis that the earth became formless and void. It tells that in one section, God created the heavens and the earth and all the living entities and beings on it. Full stop. Then it starts the portion telling about Adam and Eve. This is why after Cain slew Abel, he was fearful that the others might kill him for what he had done. And God had to put a mark on him. The others are the beings that still existed and lived through the cataclysm of the Great War. Number two, there was a war between angels to try to establish rule of a place called heaven, which could be a place or a continent outside of the known continents where we live. Very strange subject. You should look into this. Number three, the pre-flood era was filled with strange things, from angels marrying women and giants who destroyed the lands, and the attempt to breed out the descendants of Adam and Eve and the fall so that Jesus could not return and fulfill the prophecies. Thus, God destroying this before the remnant of man was completely wiped out. This is why Noah was listed as being pure in his genealogies back to Adam. They don't teach this in church. Number four, Noah was chosen because of his genetics and not been corrupted or tainted by the angels or the pre-Adamic bloodline. This is what I just mentioned. Number five, after the flood, the angels assigned to watch over the affairs of men began to teach men to worship them instead of God, thus known as the principalities and the gods that the foreign nations or the pagan nations worshipped. Oftentimes, there will be different names for the same gods, such as Apollo and Zeus, in different nations. Number six, we have no idea how old the earth really is. Number seven, we have no idea who built the ancient megalithic structures, and we cannot reconstruct them today. Number eight, most of the history taught in school is a lie since the early 1930s. Number nine, there is a force outside of men trying to run this area that we live on. Number 10, we cannot conceive how the ancient stone buildings were built by humans because we don't believe they were. Number 11, the Bible gives us only fragments of history and men's lives who lived them. We now live in a modern era, some 5,000, 6,000 years older than these people. We must put emphasis and focus on our own lives and what we are to do as the modern heroes and saints of the Bible. We are a continuation of God's plan. Number 13, Nimrod was a half man, half angel hybrid ruler, oversaw a building or a device. It was 100 miles wide. I'm not sure how tall it was. And the goal of it was to transport men with some sort of technology into the region or area of heaven, destroy the soldiers, and kill God and take over rule. Number 14, angels travel in some kind of craft called the chariots of fire. Number 15, after the flood, the angels returned and started creating hybrid humans again. So God commanded the Hebrews to kill them off lest they try to breed out, as before the flood, the ability of Jesus to fulfill the redemption of man through Adam and Eve's seed line. Number 16, the purpose of breeding out the humans was to leave no remnant of Adam and Eve so that the Messiah could not return and redeem man, as I just mentioned. Number 17, there is more to the story as to what this place is we live on and why our souls end up here. We don't really know, or someone who does know is not telling us. Number 18, there is no record of men worshiping or following God from Noah to Abraham. We don't really know what was happening on the earth during this time period. Number 19, Abraham was not a Jew. He was the son of an idol maker in Mesopotamia. Number 20, we have almost no world history we can trust that is publicly known before the biblical records. And a few books, such as the Book of the Giants, are the only remnants of ancient history. There are only mere fragments of all of this information, a lot of which is made up. 21, angels called watchers corrupted the pre-flood world and taught men warfare. They taught them magic. They taught them seduction, medicine, etc. 22, there are fallen angels who can prevent prayers from being answered by blocking the angels of God from coming and helping. We read this in the Bible about the story of the prince of Persia stopping the angel from helping Daniel. There are angels, number 23. There are angels called principalities that rule over areas of men, and some were worshipped as gods. They are still in place now, and people still worship them, though you don't hear about it publicly. The secret societies still worship and call upon these gods to help them. 24, the people in the Bible living in Judea in biblical times were not all of the same race, though this is taught in modern times. Moses left Egypt with a mixed multitude of people, did he not? 25, Judeans were a mixed races land of people who all worshiped one God. That was their connection, was how they worshiped the one true God. 25, the term Jew was invented 500 years ago and inserted into the biblical literature. As in Greek and Aramaic, there were no J's in the language, and Judea was Iodea. So the term Iudean or Judean became shortened to the word Jew for those who lived in the land and worshiped one true God. It had nothing to do with a race of people. That is a modern construction. 26, the idea that Israel is a place belonging to a group of ethnic people, then, therefore, in conclusion, can be interpreted as misinformation. 27, if some mechanism in the body is turned off, then other entities can control and enter a human body, known as possession. This is why heavy drinking of alcohol and drugs often can lead to entities entering the body over time, even more than one, meaning that our body is much like a car and someone else can get in and drive it. 28, some humanoids exist without inner dialogue or rationale, meaning they are non-player characters or humans without a soul, perhaps. This is a psychological study that was done on whether people have inner dialogue or talk to themselves to rationalize what they do. 29, our subconscious is like a program in a computer, and it can be rewritten. It does 85% of all of our thinking. Number 30, most of the things we believe, we have never personally experienced. Most all Christians will never be able to understand the Bible completely and in its true context because they have been lied to about science and world history, therefore not being able to interpret truly what is being said or how things actually work, thus leaving them up to manipulation. 32, the word Jew is a psychic warfare term created for such mechanisms as control. It is a rare word created to have multiple opposite meanings, making its ability to be used as a verbal weapon by the wielder prominent. A paradoxical word manufactured for the purpose of manipulation. Therefore, in context, one can be a ethnic Semite from Judea of a certain bloodline and be an atheist. One can be an atheist and have an ancestor who converted to Judaism 200 years ago and still be considered a Jew. Now forming two levels or three levels of opposite meaning or derogatory understanding to the mind. When one cannot define what exactly something is, then the wielder of such words can use this as a psychological weapon against others from countering any narrative being approached using the term or the word. Remember, this is a rare word that resembles Kabbalistic or witchcraft meanings behind it. It is not an attack on any one person. I'm just revealing that the word is a paradox in itself because you cannot define what it is. And therefore, it was created or manufactured on purpose. 33, not every person has a pure genealogy to Adam and Eve. Thus, they are descendants or have remnants of bloodlines from the previous civilization or angels that returned after the flood and had children with women as before. 34, the blue bloods believe they are descendants of angels and have a higher status and the right to rule, the divine right to rule. 35, Jesus already returned for the millennial reign, and it has been hidden for many years from us, perhaps the sole reason for why all of the history has been hidden. 36, most of the old architecture in our cities has the first couple of floors buried in mud and were not built by us, but found. This is an undisputable fact at this time because all around the world, we have images and pictures of buildings where there are plaques on the side of them saying founded in 1845. And then we see pictures of cars and things driving on the streets, old-timey horse and carriage and people walking. And then now in modern times, we go and dig up the streets that exist and find that there is windows and floors to that building in an old street 20 to 40 feet below the current surface, meaning the stories and the history they told us about founding the buildings and the creators and the architects was a lie. All right. 37, they have added several hundred years to our timeline. This has been calculated by mathematicians at this point in time. 38, most of ancient history stories in textbooks is the same story with different names attached to it. Wars and battles and kings and queens and events. 39, a cataclysm that buried the world in mud happened in recent history is undeniable and there is no record of it. This is the mud flood. Number 40, the population of most towns was too small to have built the massive structures such as Capitol buildings, and the idea of inserting the term slaves cannot explain it away, as they didn't exist in multitudes in areas such as small towns in America, where the population of the entire state might have been 2,500 to 3,000 people, and they have a Capitol building built in Romanesque massive structure with 700 rooms that could be a wonder of the world. And we're supposed to believe that this small group of people built this structure without railroads leading to it, without cars or without dump trucks. It is ridiculous at this point in time. Know that this explains how we have been lied to. 41, the Dark Ages is an oxymoron, as it was also the time of castles and art, and we can't explain how they created most of it today. We do not understand how they painted the ceilings and with what kind of paint they used for it to last 1,500 years without being destroyed. We cannot figure out the architecture of these castles and such, and how people could have built them at all with primitive tools and without the infrastructure to move stones and logs and such massive distances. It is ridiculous to our conscience to assume they are telling us the truth. 42, there are old maps showing more continents and a larger earth than we are being told. People in the old times who sent out sailors as subjects of the kings or queens to create maps, and it was a very, very serious business. These old maps were not created as a joke. 43, footage from the Apollo moon mission show the astronauts, I watched this myself, faking the blue marble image, indicating that the Earth is much larger than we believe. The actual footage shows a silhouette having been put in the window of the Apollo, and then the camera being put across the other side of the craft, the lights turned out, and filming the Earth as they were supposed to be nearing the moon, making it look small and at a distance. And then the camera is left running in the unedited footage. They remove the silhouette of the image that we have of the blue marble, and the Earth, whatever size it is, completely fills the window, meaning that for a fact, the Earth is much larger than the blue marble we have been lied to about. And all the images and satellites and things are processed through a blue marble imaging software that always makes sure that the images look like the initial faked footage to this day. I have witnessed this original footage myself. 44, the gyroscope. If you know what one is, I suggest you look up what a gyroscope is and how it works, because it absolutely disproves a spinning ball Earth, and there is no way around that. 45, old maps show Antarctica with no ice and people and animals and castles living there, disavowing the evolutionary timeline or the timeline of Arctic freezing and things within our known existence of history, meaning that from the 1500s on, at some point in time, the Antarctic froze, and also probably the North Pole froze. We do not know what event caused this, but we do know there were maps and drawings showing animals and castles and beings there. The same with Africa. It was not just inhabited by African people. The people living on Africa, there was drawings and maps of castles and animals and infrastructure of very modern times. Who destroyed it? We don't know. 46, paintings from antiquity show distinct images of UFOs on them. How is it that in the 1300s, the 1400s, paintings of the exact type of images that we have today, or pictures or drawings of UFOs, are on those paintings? 47, most all of the stories of building designers and construction of old world buildings are ridiculous. And such as when you go look up a Capitol building or a library of a town or a particular old world hotel or something, and then you read about the official story online or in a book about who designed it and who built it and how long it took, you will find that each and every one of these stories will say that they ran a contest and some random guy was chosen who may have not even been a specific architecture specialist in something, just randomly chosen, won a contest. This guy, you can't find history on him. true history on him either. Then the building was constructed, and usually it says it was completed in 1 year. We know that some of these buildings, it would have took a year for architects just to design the substructure or the foundation to these magnificent buildings. This is repeated over and over and over concerning these buildings. So therefore, we know by common sense they are simply lying to us like we are 10 years old in elementary school again. 48, the World's Fair buildings were built and found already there. None were temporary, as some still exist to this day and are magnificent and hardly understandable how they were constructed in older times. We were told that some of these magnificent World's Fairs were built within a year or two of construction dates. We know, as I said before, that architects will tell you that it would took longer than that just to design the foundations and the landscape for these buildings by a team of architects. These buildings were already there and they were destroyed to hide history. Number 50, the Statue of Liberty in America is a man and represents Lucifer. And there are several other exact smaller statues around the world. One such of ancient times drawings was the Colossus of Rhodes, which looks nearly identical to the Statue of Liberty in many ways. Isn't it odd that someone would have put an idol to Lucifer for all immigrants coming to the old world America to see as first sight? 51, star forts, if you haven't heard of one, look them up, defy historical paradigm. They are all over the world and they look very similar. There's no way for the ancients to have moved in wooden ship all of these blocks and stones to build these magnificent structures in the 15 and 1600s. 52, old photos of everyone in three-piece suits and ladies in large dresses and wool suits and dresses in the middle of summer defy logic. None of these people in top hats and these three-piece suits and tuxedos walking around appear to be working at all. They just seem to be walking around admiring the buildings. 53, evolution is an insult to intelligence and is a religion in and of itself, being that its statistical chance of occurring is the scientific null probability. Sir Frederick Hoyle did studies on whether he was one of the greatest astronomers to ever live. He did studies on the possibility of evolution occurring by random chance, and the number was so large it went far beyond the null probability of science, meaning that believing in it is fantasy or religion, that scientifically it could not have occurred. 54, please understand, the Bible is a collection of books and letters. It is not a book. It is a collection of over 5,000 or 6,000 years of history. 55, Jesus said, "You did not choose me, but I chose you," meaning Christians are his chosen people and no one else. Full stop. Christians have been told quite a tall story over time that someone else or another race of people or another belief system are God's chosen people, which defies the New Testament and everything Jesus talked about and how he defined what all of this meant. Are you believing the truth or a lie? 57, anyone who claims to follow Christ and goes back to supporting those against Christ has become the spirit of Judas. I'll give you some time to think about that. 58, humans are prisoners on this plane. You can't go up too high, you must eat and drink, and you have to have air. It is a concept that is distressing. We do not know what we're doing here. 59, left to ourselves, we are some of the weakest things in nature. 60, we no longer know where we live. We don't know what year it is. We don't know how we got here. We may know where we're going, but not exactly where that place is. This is part of the illusion and the distraction and why we are kept so distracted from the true narrative of everything that exists and has happened in history. 61. The laws of our reality can be broken as defined by miracles in the Bible, leaving us to ponder how real this reality is. They did studies in physics, perhaps quantum physics, where they called the split test, where when they beamed photons through two slits, they would record that they would not do the same thing as when a human observer would look at them. And just the presence of a human with thought and visualizing what was going on would change the reality of the test. Just being present by humans can change reality, meaning the thoughts we think can change reality. Thus, Jesus said, if you wish to move a mountain, you can do so, meaning any struggle or any type of very difficult thing, all you have to do is change your thinking and your speaking about it. 62, we are not smarter now. We are only rediscovering what was already known. Thus, the antiquity, history, and technology that we are finding from the old world structures, some of them having designs as a gigantic circuit board to the exact design. They don't teach us that in school. 63, the age of swords and shields, and also giant castles and construction and such. We cannot recreate them today. And the idea of people having primitive tools and weapons and the advanced structures that also existed is a paradox. 64, there are a shadow group of people or entities trying to kill off 85% of the people in the world. The Georgia Guidestones had this on them, and some mysterious force destroyed them. 65, a group of powerful Orthodox Jews exist who believe Christians publicly, now this is writing, need to be removed and the world plunge into immorality and war to speed up the coming of their Messiah, who they believe has delayed too long, who will eliminate most of the world's population and leave a remnant to serve them as slaves as they rule the world. Now, I'm not saying all believe this, but I have seen quite a swarm surround a certain president and perpetually bother him about, is he doing more to help this happen? So the influence is strong. 66, the major systems of the world continue to be manipulated into forming endless cycles to extract wealth and work from you, including imprisoning, fining, billing, taxing, and poisoning you into sickness. Most of these extortion industries are run by the same group of people. Call them against Christ. Would Christians running a nation do this to everyone? I think not. 67, Christian pastors called televangelists were funded to get Christians to believe it was God's will for them to become Judas. And now Christians no longer run their country or their industries. 68, most of the book of Revelation already happened. The fake coming of an antichrist now was a way to get Christians to let the rise of against Christ take over without being stopped. When I say the rise of against Christ, we know that there is people who are against Christ. They don't believe in him and they're actually against him. And that they have rose to prominent positions of power while Christians have been reduced to slave labor and working 9-to-5 jobs. This is not how things should have been or should be in a nation founded by Christians. Christians should be running and conservatives should be running the country their forefathers established. 69, name how sending $40 billion a year to Israel helps America. The money is never paid back. Israel has free health care for all of its citizens. Americans can hardly afford it, and veterans are left sleeping in the streets. 70, the Federal Reserve is a private bank. with foreign investors, and it was never voted into existence by law. Prints our money out of thin air, and the IRS is its collection agency. 71, Tartaria is the largest civilization in the world history found on old maps and has been erased from the history books. Ask yourself why the largest civilization in history is never taught anymore. 72, flight patterns of long distances, intercontinental flights, are ridiculous in their patterns until you lay them out on a flat earth model map. And then it appears to be a straight line traveling to where it should be going. 73, the Bible tells us of people who lived in one timeline being brought into a different one and being seen with Jesus, meaning that the timeline, the paradox that we live in can be altered with the right keys or information. We are in a type of structure. 74, between 1990 and 2020, there seems to be missing time. 75, the Mandela effect may have been an attempt by scientists and CERN to alter the past and remove Jesus from ever having came at all. 76, most all the world's top official groups are based in a Luciferian agenda. This is a fact. I reveal that in the book, Reason to Believe. 77, despite what you have been told, Zionism and Christianity are exact opposites. Just as the scribes and Pharisees opposed Jesus, and Judas betrayed Jesus by going back. Thus, the oxymoron of Christian Zionism. 78, the sun is not 90 million miles away from the earth. They utterly and completely just made up that number. 79, the modern church teaches you enough of the gospel to win you to Christ, but only if it uses the rest of the gospel message to keep you docile and not to resist the anti-Christians from taking over your land and extorting your wealth and corrupting your children. It is used as a mechanism of control for creating docile people obedient to the government. Remember, Jesus said, and Jesus condemned the money changers in the temple. He did not passively allow them to keep extorting God's kingdom and his palace and his temple. So he made a whip and he drove them out. This is not passivity to evil, as Christians have been taught. 80, Armageddon already took place. So did the rapture, and we are in Satan's short season of deception. Remember, Jesus was speaking, and remember the Bible was written, the letters in the Bible were written to the people who existed at that time, and Jesus said to them, behold, I am returning, and some of you will not taste death before you see my return. This is not mental gymnastics, meaning 2,000 years later. The Bible was not written to us. It did not start when we opened it. 81, the book of Enoch is the oldest. The book of Enoch is in the oldest known Bible in the world, the Ethiopian Bible, and you should probably read it. 82, the Catholic Church is run by the Jesuit order, and they have a pope called the Black Pope, not the color of his skin, but that's just what he's called. And much of the teachings coming out of this institution contradict the biblical teachings. All right, number 83, Jesus told us that you are not saved unless you become born again of the Spirit. Much of the world calling themselves Christians have never been born again. 84, we did not go to the moon in the 1960s, and sometimes with a telescope, you can see Venus showing through the moon. The moon is something very different than what we have been told. 85, the Christian church, since adopting Zionism, has become more blessed or less blessed. Christian countries, have they become more moral or less moral. So since 1948, when Christianity began getting told to bless Israel, what has been the perpetual state of the nation as far as a moral-based Christian stable society? Are we being blessed in the terms of the Bible or not blessed? I think the answer is obvious, and maybe someone has pulled the wool over our eyes about changing the New Testament to go back to the Old Testament. 86, Satan swayed a third of the angels to follow him. Jesus said, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." Could Christians have been swayed to support against Christ through a perhaps satanic movement or an antichrist movement? I mean, Jesus said, you can be his people. Christians can perish for lack of knowledge. 87, America considered itself a Christian moral country up until 1948. Then a big change started to happen, as I mentioned before. Hollywood, corporate advertisements, the music industry, publications, and the news channels all began to erode America and its moral Christian values. Who runs and controls those industries? 88. America's government is lobbied and controlled now by people with dual citizenship to a foreign country. Should this be happening in our country? Should anyone influencing our government over American policies and things going on in America, should they have dual citizenship and perhaps allegiance to another country? 89. Words can heal and words can harm us. In school, we learn how to spell and spelling, and we learned grammar from the French word grimoire, which is a book of spellcasting. We learn to think, speak, to write, and spell in a language oftentimes against Christ. So it can be used in the form and method that we have learned to subdue us through things like the news and publications and movies and music, because words are formulas. 90, you spend several 24 hours a day in years of your life watching pointless material and ingesting information that harms your spirit. Against Christ controls most all of the information and pointless material that you consume. Statistically, some people will sit under a spell and watch several valuable years of their life worth of sports alone on TV, not counting all of the other ways and information that is harming us. 91. Geoengineering is code language for population control via spraying the skies with toxic levels of nano-aluminum, barium, and strontium. Some call these chemtrails. Alzheimer's, dementia, is the third leading cause of death. Nanoparticles of aluminum in high doses are found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients, and twice that amount is found in children with ADHD. In some places now we have 1,000 times the amount of nano-aluminum in the soil. Where do you think it's all coming from? And don't you think if there are people trying to eliminate a lot of the population and harm us and possibly even hate us, would they not spray the skies? 92. Music can be constructed and is a mathematical formula known to unlock and embed itself in the subconscious. So our minds can have things embedded in it. This is a fact of mind science. Modern music is recorded and played in a frequency known to be disharmonious to the human body. They've known this for hundreds of years. Unlocking the subconscious and implanting harmful messages within it. This knowledge is thousands of years old. Plato even wrote about the wrong type of music destroying societies. Do you think that the modern music is not doing that? 93, the modern medical doctor is trained in something called pharmakia. It is a Greek word, and it's the use of drugs to prolong life with an illness, but not to heal it. So the Bible defines the term as witchcraft in Galatians 5:19, and that is defined by the Bible as the use of these types of tactics for what we call medicine. And there are multiple forms of healing practices. We are now subjected to only mainly one. Does Against Christ control the medical corporate system now? I think you probably can figure out that answer. 94, becoming a Christian does not free you from educating yourself against the works of the devil. Jesus said, my people perish for lack of knowledge, as I have said before. 95, the Bible tells us to freely share the good news of the gospel of Jesus. That is true. Freely share this. But wisdom of such other matters is an investment in ourselves, more valuable than gold. Kings brought treasures to King Solomon on his wisdom about life and about God and about how to conduct affairs. Invest in yourself. Everything concerning life, if it's coming from a Christian or someone who believes in God, is not meant to be a freebie for a poor-minded, mentally controlled Christian. Pay for an investment in yourself that pays off in the end. 95, you cannot vote your way out of a corrupt government. It is every Christian's mission to help save the world. The disciples were not watchers, but doers. 96, Christianity and poverty are oxymorons. Against Christ grew wealthy off teaching Christians poverty was not a curse, but a blessing. You are one thought away from changing that mindset now. 97, if Against Christ hit our history, attempting to exterminate and extort us, lie to us, manipulate us, twist the gospel, extort, imprison, censor, legislate, hate crime, tax, fine, and call good evil and evil good, what place does light have with darkness? In other words, what are you doing as a believer, unifying yourself, like Judas, with Against Christ? 98, the conscience speaks to those who listen, knowing truth from lies. Men choose lies to comfort themselves and to please others. Here is a scripture from the Bible. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush to evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. Number 99, and I have repeated this before. What place does light have with darkness? Who has convinced America to unify itself with those who are controlling industry, finance, music, the modern news stations, everything that has twisted America from 1948, proud, conquering, viable, industrious, rich, moral country, to what it is today? We see that since America has moved its position, especially the Christian church, to this other form of thinking and support for things that are against Christ, we find ourselves in the exact same position of 1930s pre-World War II Germany, where it went from a very old traditional Christian nation to war-torn, impoverished by the banking clans and industry, the music, the moral decay, which mirrors America almost to an exact T. So, in the past 70 years, have we become more moral or less? More blessed or more cursed? More death or more life? More war or less war? More troubled or more peace? More marriage or more divorce? More knowledgeable or more indoctrinated? More free or more laws? More peace or more burdens? It is your duty to educate yourself and become aware and to understand. We have been put under a spell where good is called evil and evil is called good. And it is your duty and you alone to take responsibility, not leaving it up to a pastor or a president. It is the duty of every Christian now, made aware of the devil's tactics, to use his power and authority to take back control of their life, their family, their community, and their nations. You either decide or you decide not to decide, but either way you have made and taken a position, who you follow and who you will serve from this day forth. I hope that this message has been very enlightening for you. I'm sure it is quite shocking for most people. Leave a comment about how you feel about these things below, and understand that if you want to learn more, there are micro courses that our students are now taking who have learned this exact information. You can sign up below in the description. There are courses that have been developed over the past 24 years, and they talk about how it has changed their life doing the micro courses in the community to talk to people, how it is enriching their thinking and bringing them out of this position where certain things have been kept illusion for them. And everyone wants to know the basic answers and understand the Bible more clearly and live in a freer country and not all of this constant turmoil and chaos and mental instability that should not be going on in a God-centered country. Remember, a president cannot be voted in and save you. The only thing that keeps politicians from not being corrupt is a majority of Christian-minded, moral people with the ability to put in and remove officials from office. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, but most of all, share this because, as you know, the people running certain platforms do not want this information to get out there, unfortunately. Check the link below. You will certainly learn a lot. We'll see you soon.